I've technically been a creator for almost 10 years now. And I've always thought about starting an anonymous channel like this with no face cam so I could be like fully transparent. Like without going too much into what I do, I'm a working musician. I'm doing the singer-songwriter grind, making social content, playing cover gigs, etc. I really tried my hardest to not fall in the trap of making content that comes off as fake or trying to make myself seem more successful than I am. But it seems like since all of my socials are connected to everyone who knows me in real life, that I've kind of inevitably ended up doing that in an effort to make things look highly polished. What I want to do here is just talk about things as transparently as possible. I would say I'm at the darkest chapter of my life currently that I've ever been in. I'm not saying this for attention or empathy, but specifically because I know there are a ton of other men in their 20s who are going through what I am, even if we have different skin in different games, you know, I'm sure there's going to be people that listen to this and are like, oh, this guy plays music for a living. That sounds like an awesome life. Like, believe me when I say that we all have our own struggles, specifically around uncertainty. I know plenty of people in real life. That is one thing I can say is like a big benefit of being a musician is you make friends easy. You meet people from all different walks of life. People, a lot of times, they are more than willing to come up and talk to you about things. And I can honestly tell you, like, every man that I talk to from 20 to 35 that is single is basically going through the same thing right now. And I don't want to turn this into like a women suck type of video. If you're a woman and you're watching this and you can relate to this too, then this is absolutely for you. This is really not the point to, attack any specific demographic. The demographic here is necessarily that you are someone that feels just alone and like you have no idea what's going on. The next thing I want to sort of dive into, and this will probably be a broader thing, but know that I'm saying this from the perspective of somebody that is in the exact same boat. If you relate to this, you don't realize how fucking brain rotted you are. If you grew up with Vine, then you are so far gone that it's probably going to take years to get your brain back to a baseline level of like attention span and willingness to deal with discomfort and things like that. And even when I'm talking now, like I can feel these effects. So I'll say this, like I was a huge pothead for a super long time. And just within these past couple years, so I'm 27 now. I've stopped smoking weed. I only came off of it completely back in like November, Thanksgiving. So I'm literally like less than 6 months into being clean. And I can tell you like, yeah, the improvement in my cognition is definitely there, but it's 100% one of those things where it's just like, dude, like it's probably going to take me a couple years to get back to a reasonable baseline with that. Like it just is. Like, okay, I have this buddy who's an electrical apprentice, and he was telling me about how he has a friend at work who will put a 9 milligram Zen in his upper left cheek, right? And then when that one stops burning, he puts it into his upper right, and then puts another one into his upper left. And then he cycles them through like that. So he always has 18 milligrams of nicotine going into his bloodstream at a given point, just to function at his day job. I'm going to kind of try to rapid fire a bit through more of this, right? So it's like you got nicotine, you got TikTok or Instagram. Porn is a big one for obvious reasons. If you're a single male in your 20s, you need to stop watching porn. Most of us know it. Or maybe you're not there yet, but like you will be at some point, I promise. Weed, alcohol, and gambling. Gambling is actually a really interesting one. Okay, so like something that's interesting about me is with one of my bands that I play in, we frequently play these casino gigs. And it's interesting to me because a lot of the casinos we play at are like mainly slots. And it's like all older demographic. It's like Gen X up. Most of them are boomers. And it's really interesting to me because I remember when we first started playing there, I was kind of like, man, this is insane. This is like a daycare for boomers, basically. Like, it's crazy. And then I like realized that the only reason why there aren't more Zoomers in the casino is because they're just doing it from their phone. Like they're literally just either going on RainBet or going on DraftKings or, whatever. Again, like TikTok, it's like pick your poison. We're all doing the same shit. We're addicted to scrolling, gambling, nicotine, porn. I point all this out not to like be a doomer and be the guy that's like, oh, we're all so screwed, but more so to say like, there's a benefit in the fact that if you realize how many different points of contingency are battling for your attention and for your life force, then the silver lining there is that you can like slowly cut those things out. So it doesn't have to be like, if you're doing all those things that I listed out, or like, even half of them, it's not like you have to wake up tomorrow and be like, I'm a changed man now. That's not necessarily like what I'm getting at. But the point is, like, you can change one or two of those things at a time, and start to see like compounding effects. Like, I'm sure most people watching this, if you're in my age, know what like compounding interest is. And you might have even been down like the Atomic Habits, James Clear rabbit hole, where he talks about, small habits compound the same way that interest does. That's sort of the silver lining of this. It's like we have all these different things that are like vying for our soul, literally just like have grips around us. But the nice thing is you can start to create momentum by just getting one of those things out of your life. Again, I want to like reiterate that I'm not coming at this from the perspective of like, oh, I found enlightenment, but I do want to kind of like talk about some of the things that I have been working on. Just, if you're someone like me, if you're literally just like dead-end job, working in a career that feels like your success is more up to chance or networking opportunities than it is based on like your actual skill or dedication, what are like some things you can start doing? So like one of the things for me is I realized that like there's a reason why our parents' generation was so like heavy into reading, right? And we live in an age where entertainment is just literally everywhere. So it's like, it's like, why the fuck would I want to read a book when I can like go watch this guy like, scale up the world's tallest skyscraper or some shit like that? Point being, there's way more interesting things to do right now with your time on any given day than just sit and read a book. But I think it's interesting how like that books are like sort of the antidote to this. I literally I just watched another YouTuber talking about this, so I'm kind of copying him when I say it, but it's like, you don't understand how brain rotted you are, but when you start to cut out things, you will start to realize it. And it's like, I found myself becoming more like wanting to read, because it's literally like, it feels like you can feel yourself like growing when you do it. It's like hard at first. And it's funny because like, I can imagine like, some 40-year-old guy listening to this and being like, holy shit, dude, these kids are so like brain rotted. And it's true. But like, I can feel the effort that it requires for me to sit down and focus and read a book. And I think it's funny because it's like, it's a lot easier for me to read like a long post on like Instagram or Facebook than it is for me to like crack open a book and read that. Okay. Nonetheless, it almost comes down to this thing where in my life, because again, that's what I'm trying to relate this back to, is like what I've been trying to do that's been helping is like, I basically have been trying to just like demonize instant gratification as much as I can. Now, like, there's no blanket solution. I'm sure you can be like, oh, but what about this? And like, fine. But for the most part, delaying instant gratification and like making it your enemy is going to be so detrimental in terms of like reclaiming your attention span and like unrotting your brain. Like, again, this is something I would not have even realized if I didn't like stop smoking weed. But it's like, man, you get to a point where like you have this little voice in your head, and when you fill it with just toxic like mental junk food over years and years, like that voice gets really quiet, because our brain has a way of like homogenizing itself to a level where it doesn't necessarily care as long as it's like satisfied. So when you like come out of that, it is so hard at first. The nice thing about it is like that voice it starts to come back a little bit, and you really find yourself in a position where you're like, man, like, why did my parents read? Like what is it about this reading thing that has been keeping people doing this forever? I think it's really funny. So like, I was just thinking about this today. Like, I learned, I play guitar, right? I'm like professional guitarist, technically, right? Technically. I've been playing for about 10 years now. And it's funny because I remember a point when I was about 17 or 18 when I first picked it up. And, I was smoking weed at that point, and I think I might have already been addicted to nicotine at that point. Because when I was 18, where I live, you could buy it. I think most places are 21 now. I remember getting so like addicted to playing guitar. And I have like very distinct memories of like sitting at my desk and being in loading screens for League of Legends. And if you're like an old head League player, you like remember how like long loading screens used to take, because the game's been like unoptimized for so many years. And I would just sit there and just like practice. And I'd play like a couple matches of League and then just go practice for like hours. And then like once I got really burnt down on that, I'd go play League and then go back. And I would just go back and forth between that. And it was like really interesting to me, because the satisfaction that I got from playing League of Legends was on like the same level of the satisfaction that I got from like playing guitar, which I feel like that is unheard of in 2026. Like trying to think about doing something like practicing an instrument being on the same level as something very instant gratification, like playing a video game. I feel like that doesn't happen anymore. And I literally feel like it's because it was at a point where I wasn't extremely brain rotted yet. And so my brain was able to like place value on like this honing process, right? There was like a certain like dopaminergic system that was taking place that was different from playing video games, but at the same time was like of equal weight in my mind. That's what's really interesting to me. Because, you know, fast forward to me now, and I struggle so much to get myself to practice, to play music. Like I actually hate it. Like I really hate sitting down and practicing. I actually have an easier time getting myself to like go to the gym or like sit down and read than I do to get myself and sit down and practice guitar. And I've been playing it for like 10 years. And I think it's literally a product of this neck of the woods that we find ourselves in. I think we're like starting to see, or if not now, maybe in the next 5 to 10 years, we're starting to see like the culmination of the long-term massive problems that all of these different things are causing. I say these things not because I'm trying to like elicit a reaction. I can see someone sitting down and listening to this and being like, man, I can't imagine like being really good at guitar and like not wanting to play guitar. Like that doesn't make any sense to me. Like I'm bringing that up as a point to say like it is literally a matter of everything around us. Like it almost like that should almost prove my point further, that like something that is considered like by most people like super awesome, like, oh man, look at this guy, he can like play a ton of notes super fast, he can like shred up and down these scales and stuff, to being someone that can actually do that and it not actually holding like the level of like human satisfaction. Like that kind of speaks to my point even further. And I'm sure like most of us have things in our life that we're really good at that another person could look at and be like, wow, that's like really awesome, they can do that. And then that person themselves not appreciate that. You know, I'm putting a lot of emphasis on the whole brain rot thing and all these, you know, social media companies and the tobacco industry and all these evil different entities that are in their life. But like, I don't necessarily have a call to action with this video, right? Call to action for someone that doesn't know, if you're like maybe a little younger and you're kind of newer to this kind of topic, is basically like, what do I want you to do for me as the viewer? I really don't have a call to action. And that's kind of the point. What I'm really trying to do instead is offer some of my thought processes and how I've been kind of going about things lately. I'm not a professional. I have a very long history of like mental health problems. And I really struggle with things like motivation and discipline and consistency. But my goal for this channel is to basically upload a video once a week, maybe once every other week, just kind of depending on how I can fit the workload into my life. And realistically, what I like to do is treat this as an experiment in building community, right? So I'm trying to find other people that are creators, or maybe not necessarily creators, but people that feel prompted to take back that creative spirit. I think a lot of people don't realize that, like, you know, if you're working a corporate job and you are creating like Excel spreadsheets for your boss, you are a creator. If you work in like marketing at all, you are a creator. If you work in food, you're a creator. And so I think what we've done a lot is outsource our creativity to basically millions or billionaires really at this point. And that's causing us to become creatively stifled. So what I'd like to do is, you know, offer this hand, like offer this welcome to what I hope can eventually become a community. So if you like what I have to say, you know, obviously, you know, like, comment, subscribe, all that BS. I don't really care about that. But what I will say is I'd like to engage in discourse. So, you know, if you're like me and you're someone that does a ton of lurking without a lot of engaging, and you've actually made it this far in the video, which I'm aware that, you know, very few people might not make it very far into this video. But if you do, I beg you to please drop a comment. Let's just talk. Let's start kind of being more open about this stuff, and let's be there for each other. Because I think one of the biggest things I've realized that I do with my content, where I show my face, is that I'm not willing to be my realest self. But this is a space that I'm creating because I want to be my realest self. Okay. So again, if you've made it to the end of this video, which I realize is very unlikely, just drop me a comment. Just tell me you're here. Just tell me what you want to see. I mean, dude, you can shit on me for all you want, honestly, right? I am fully aware that this is going to take me a while to get solid at doing, you know, making videos, script writing, commentary, all that stuff. But if you have made it this far, tell me what you want to see. Give me suggestions. Tell me what you think would be a good idea. Because I really think that there are more of me out there that feel this way. And I think a lot of us are just kind of afraid to talk about it. And so I'm trying to do that in a way that rewards that vulnerability. So I'll see you guys in the next one. Till then, thanks for checking me out. Have a great day.